Do you ever feel like your mind is a runaway train, speeding down a track of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios? You try to hit the brakes, but it just keeps going, leaving you exhausted and anxious. What if I told you that being a worrier isn't who you are? It's not some permanent personality trait you're stuck with forever. It's a habit, and like any habit, it can be unlearned. So, we are going to dive into the science of why we worry, and more importantly, how you can reclaim your mind. One thought at a time. This isn't about magical cures. It's about practical tools that rewire your brain for peace instead of panic. Let's get one thing straight right away. If you worry a lot, you are not broken. Your brain is actually doing what it's designed to do. Look for potential threats to keep you safe. The problem is, it can get a little too good at its job. Think about it like this. If you wanted to become a world-class pianist, what would you do? You'd practice a lot, hours every day, repeating scales, chords, and songs until they become second nature. Well, the same principle applies to worry. When you repeatedly play out catastrophic predictions in your head, you're essentially practicing worry. You are training your brain to be an expert at creating imaginary problems. You've become an Olympic-level worrier, and your brain has built superhighways for anxious thoughts. This happens because of something truly incredible about our brains. Neuroplasticity. This fancy word simply means your brain is like clay. It is constantly changing and reshaping itself based on your thoughts and experiences. Every time you have a worried thought, a specific neural pathway lights up. The more you travel down that path, the wider and more established it becomes. Eventually, your brain defaults to this path automatically, making worry feel like your natural state. The good news: just as you built that highway, you can also build new ones. You can consciously choose a different path. A path of presence, calm, and logic. By repeatedly selecting a different response to your triggers, you start creating a new neural pathways, and the old worry ones will cease from disuse. Here's a fascinating paradox that many of us face. The safer our lives become, the more we seem to worry. Our lives are objectively safer than ever before, but our brains still wired for threat detection. So, what do? Your brain latches onto smaller and smaller things and blows them up into major catastrophes. This is the safety paradox. Your mind creates problems to solve because it's been trained to be a problem solver. Without real tigers to fight, it starts inventing imaginary ones. So, how do we stop this mental hamster wheel? The first and most powerful technique is to interrupt the pattern. Worry can only exist in the future or the past. It cannot survive in the present moment. When you feel that familiar spiral starting, your mission is to pull your attention firmly back to right here, right now. A fantastic way to do this is with the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. It's simple, and you can do it anywhere. Wherever you are, pause and name 5 things you can see. The color of a book, patterns. Look around and really notice them. The texture of the wall, a light fixture. Name 4 things. You can feel the fabric of your clothes against your skin, the temperature of the air, the solid soil beneath your bare feet. And then, listen for 3 things you can hear. A clock ticking, distant traffic, the hum of your computer. After that, identify 2 things you can smell. Maybe it's your coffee or the scent of rain outside. And finally, name 1 thing you can taste. Perhaps the lingering flavor of your lunch or a mint. By forcing your brain to engage with your senses, here and now, you have anchored it in the present. You have slammed the brakes on the runaway train of worry. You have interrupted the habit. Another incredibly effective strategy is what I call the worry appointment method. Instead of letting worry hijack your entire day, you give it a designated time slot. Let's say you schedule a 10-minute worry appointment for 5 p.m. every day. When a worried thought pops into your head at 10 a.m., you don't fight it or try to suppress it. That often just makes it stronger. Instead, you acknowledge it and say to yourself, okay, that's an interesting worry. I will think about that during my 5 p.m. appointment. You can even jot it down on a piece of paper. What you'll often find is that by the time 5 p.m. rolls around, many of those worries have lost their power. They seem smaller, less urgent, or even ridiculous. For the ones that still feel important, you can use your 10 minutes to think them through logically or brainstorm solutions. This technique contains the worry. It teaches your brain that you are in control of when and where you engage with these thoughts, not the other way around. You're not letting worry be the boss of your day. You're giving it a specific, limited role to play. Now let's talk about the stories we tell ourselves. Every worry is essentially a negative story, with you as the main character. I'm going to fail the presentation, and everyone will think I'm incompetent. This headache is probably a brain tumor. These are stories, not facts. And you are the author of these stories. That means you have the power to edit them. When you catch yourself in the middle of a negative narrative, stop and challenge it. Become a detective of your own thoughts. Ask yourself, what is the evidence for this thought? What is the evidence against it? Is there a more balanced or realistic way to look at this situation? For example, instead of, I'm going to fail the presentation, you could edit the story too. I'm nervous about the presentation, but I've prepared well, and I'm capable of doing a good job. Even if it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending problems don't exist. It's about shifting from automatic, catastrophic fiction to a more balanced and evidence-based reality. You are editing your internal monologue from one of panic to one of presence and self-compassion. Let's put all these pieces together. Imagine your mind is a garden. For years, you've been unintentionally watering the weeds of worry. They've grown strong and have started to choke out the beautiful flowers of peace and joy. Now, you've decided to become an active gardener. You are not going to rip out all the weeds in one day. That is impossible or overwhelming. Instead, you're going to start with small, consistent actions. When you see a weed of worry pop up, you use the 5-4-3-2-1 technique to interrupt it. Refusing to give it the water of your attention, you use the worry appointment method to build a fence around the weed patch, containing its spread. And you actively choose to plant and water new seeds, the seeds of positive, realistic stories. You challenge the negative narratives. You practice grounding yourself in the present moment. Slowly but surely, the garden of your mind begins to change, and your flowers get much more sunlight and space to grow. The weeds, deprived of your attention, start to wither. This process takes time and practice. Just like learning the piano, there will be days when the weeds seem to grow back with a vengeance. That's okay. That's part of the process. The goal isn't a completely weed-free garden. The goal is a beautiful, thriving garden, where you are the one in charge of the landscape. The core message in all of this is choice. In any given moment, you have a choice. You can choose to get swept away by the current of anxious thoughts, or you can choose to plant your feet firmly on the ground of the present moment. You can choose to believe the scary stories your mind tells you, or you can choose to become the editor and write a different ending. This power has been inside you all along. These techniques are simply ways to access it more effectively. You are not your anxiety. You are not your worry. You are the conscious observer behind your thoughts, and you have the ability to decide which thoughts you engage with and which ones you let float by, like clouds in the sky. It's a practice, not a destination. Every time you choose presence over panic, you are casting a vote for a calmer future. You are literally reshaping your brain. So, let's make this practical. Your challenge for this week is to pick one of these techniques and commit to practicing it. Maybe you will try the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Every time you feel that familiar knot of anxiety in your stomach, perhaps you will schedule a daily 10-minute worry appointment. Don't try to do everything at once. Just pick one and be consistent. Remember, you are building a new habit, a new neural pathway. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. You are unlearning a lifetime of practice, and that is a courageous and powerful thing to do. You have the power to stop being an Olympic-level warrior and start becoming a champion of the present moment. Thank you for spending this time with me today, and please share your experiences in the comments below. Which technique are you going to try? Let's support each other on this journey. You've got this.